I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, colleagues, Christine is someone that the mayor has talked to, I think has a background that would be helpful from, I think, architectural and like other sort of general urban planning background. So this is not a reappointment, this is a new appointment.
Okay.
Did I say all that correctly, Daniel? I think.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. So I think in our next meeting, we should have a number of other ones coming through. I know Daniel, the mayor, and I, and you, and some others had some conversation points, particularly following up to Commissioner Repart's conversation last week about Max Gibbs, and I know there's another individual that just needs to fill out the PIF. Hopefully they'll do that quickly. For the Parks Advisory Board. So I see Mr. Marquardt here, so we're hopefully going to get you a full board. And then continuing on with the Community Relations Commission, there is another individual as well that the mayor and I had spoken about in the past, and hopefully we'll also fill out that PIF and confirm. I think there's interest there. Overall, we'll take a look at just a variety, as we've had some conversations over the last couple of months about more the public safety and the reimagining. So colleagues, remember we had that presentation last week. So I will remind all of us, and myself included, that we do have openings for the Public Safety Board. At this point, I was thinking that we would have that not resolved, but we'd vote by the end of the year. I don't think that's going to be the case, or it's probably going to be a little bit of time. We have some other items. So can you scroll down to the Public Safety Board, City Clerk? So that's one I just wanted to put on a little priority for us today. So we have 2 in the second ward, so it looks like the second ward needs to get going, which is not surprising, because I know we were kind of holding for a little bit for that conversation, and Commissioner Lanier. So Commissioner Moody, would you be able to talk to Commissioner Lanier about that appointment?
Sure.
And perhaps, I know a lot of times we tag team on those together.
Sure.
I don't think at this point we probably have anybody who has active PIFs for public safety, Daniel, but if you could confirm that, that would be helpful, I think, to Commissioner Jones and I, and perhaps even Commissioner Lanier. We did have there was a really nice turnout last week of the Cure Violence, the start of Cure Violence, I'm trying to think of the right word. It was pretty moving. They had a great video. It was great to see some people there. And so Commissioner Lanier and I were able to talk to a few different people just about serving on commissions and boards. And so if there's not any active PIFs, then we can certainly kind of go back. I just always try to look for people who have, the general interest areas. So that's why I mentioned that group.
We do have a few PIFs that just recently came in. They are not fully vetted, but I'd be happy to send those
Okay.
applications to the committee.
Okay, and they are residents of the city?
Correct.
Okay, great, thank you. So I wanted to highlight that one, commissioners. I think on the housing trust fund board, I think you all in the first ward are good, and your person has decided to serve?
Their PIF is in,
Okay,
I believe, and Dr. Virginia Beard is her name. She's,
We have been getting quite a few applications
Okay,
for that
yeah,
board, so
they're-
you'll have to bear with me.
I don't know how we want to go about the remaining 5, but that would be something that we could talk about
yeah.
in our next meeting or so, or
I-
this one even.
I was going to make a suggestion if, the PIF is important, right? Because that's the vetting process. I also wonder if at a glance, I don't know how many total there are, Daniel, but if it exceeds something that's maybe reasonable to send in attachments or just to review, perhaps we could get a spreadsheet initially of here's all the people with some initial qualifying information regarding the ward and maybe what they listed as an expertise area.
Oh, okay.
And then if it's possible to know if they serve on another board in the city, if that is possible. If that is too time consuming, I'm open to that. We could always go back to the PIF to confirm that.
It would just take a little bit longer than what we
Okay.
normally do for
Okay.
PIF vetting.
Okay.
But since this is a new board, I'd be happy to
Okay.
add an additional information column to a spreadsheet
Okay.
to send.
I don't know, colleagues, would that be helpful so we could kind of look at it at a glance? Because sometimes I think when you, I don't want us to not individually look at the PIFs, but given the extent of them, I think this could be helpful.
Yep.
I would appreciate that.
Okay.
And just one quick question. I know this has come up and you had just mentioned it, Commissioner. I haven't read fully the bylaws of the new Housing Fund Board. Is that a stipulation where they cannot serve on multiple boards in the city?
We talked briefly about that last week. I think it was more so for, I don't think it would preclude them, but what I'd like to know is if they're on a current board, have they had good attendance at their board?
I see,
So
I
it's
see.
more of like a qualifier for me, but it wouldn't preclude them.
Okay,
From my
great.
understanding, colleagues.
Perfect. Thank you.
I think that's right.
Thanks for that clarifying question, though. It's, and then this is not something for, I want to say this here, but it's not necessary for a point, it's not for Daniel or city clerk to have to take forward. But I will say it in the, with the city attorney's office is we talked a little bit about the conflict of interest when Mr. DeLong was here a few weeks ago, colleagues.
Yeah.
We said that that would be taken on a case-by-case basis. I would like to understand further how that's going to be qualified as we seat the board. This work is being funded not solely, we're going to do some fundraising, but it will have federal dollars. And just, more and more I'm working with federal dollars, and there's just so many requirements and conflicts of interest. I think it would behoove us to just make sure that we understand that
Yeah.
and or our appointees. And obviously, we do have people who have conflicts of interest and then they remove themselves from certain votes. I just want people to make sure that if they do this, what is it potentially going to preclude them for if they do have a conflict, right? So does that make sense, Patrick?
Yeah, we can smooth that out a little bit.
Okay.
After the meeting, if that's all right.
Yeah, no, you need to do it right now. Just kidding.
I just want to make sure that,
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure that I know exactly what it is.
Yeah, so I think it's just something that the more and more we, have these ARPA dollars, I'm all for the conversation we had last week about how do we sort of, if other cities are doing things that gives us precedence, I think this is just one of those,
Yeah.
this is not just for ARPA, but because of ARPA, and who knows, there could be some other federal dollars or state dollars. And so I think just given the magnitude of this, the issue of it, I would feel more comfortable having that question answered specifically, or as specifically as it can be.
Yep.
Any questions about that? I had that in my notes and I didn't want to forget that. Okay. And then Commissioner Moody, have you and Commissioner Lanier landed on a name for the housing trust?
I believe that Commissioner Lanier has a name.
Okay.
We probably just need to sit down and further inform
Okay.
who that person's going to be.
So maybe we can grab her after community development and then we can make sure Daniel has that. And then if they have an active PIF, great. They more than likely may need an active PIF. So I know she shared a number of names a few weeks ago. So, all right. Anything else on the housing trust fund board? Because I know we did make a motion last week for an extra meeting.
Right.
Or did we, clerk? We made a motion for an extra meeting last week?
No.
I don't think
too?
a motion is needed.
Okay.
But I was just gonna comment once you were finished that I'll send out a Survey Monkey or some sort of doodle poll to get your availability for a meeting in between the first and second
Second
meeting in December.
Got it.
Just so
Okay.
we can do a mini charrette of,
Yes.
Yeah.
And-
all of the end of year appointments.
Daniel, would you also send that to the mayor? I know she is
Of
interested
course.
in coming to that meeting
Absolutely,
too.
of course.
I did talk to her last week about that, so
Right.
didn't want to forget that. So that'd be great. So it'd be sort of like a working meeting. At that meeting, we could talk about, we may have some, we might have to split up kind of what we have in terms of, just approving pieces.
Right.
And then I know we were going to prioritize out of the, thank you for sharing that data last week. So out of the 40 boards, we had 100 or so names that are either need to be reappointed or are eligible to be reappointed, are unable to be reappointed, or have said, I no longer have the
Correct.
availability to do this or the desire to. So I know we talked about prioritizing those that could be reappointed.
Correct.
Okay. So any questions? I think we're tackling a number of things, and these used to be short meetings, but I appreciate everyone. We have the time until 8:30 to have these conversations.
So the city manager is
He's going to take that seat.
he's gonna take that seat and the mayor's found her
Yes.
appointment? Okay.
Yep.
So we will have then 5 left out of, and probably sounds like 30 or 40 applications or so to decide. Is that correct? Something like that? There's been a
Oh,
lot.
there's plenty more than 30.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that
It's
spreadsheet's
a very
gonna be
popular
really
board.
nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, let's see, if we have, the last meeting of the month is it the 17th or no?
15th. I
The 15th
believe.
is the last meeting of the month. So hopefully the ones that we've decided are our appointments, they can get their PIFs done or have a PIF. And then even if we could seat like sort of, a half of it would be good, I think, and then, go through the rest. Because obviously there's a lot more work to do, just given the amount.
Right, true. And then for anyone who's watching or will be watching, the special meeting obviously will be noticed by our office.
Public meeting.
So,
Great.
That's great.
Anything else, Daniel, that we could, I know there's a lot going on with the Housing Trust Fund Board.
yeah, again, we've just been our vetting departments have been a little overwhelmed with the interest in that board. So if, again, anyone is watching that has submitted a PIF, please, we appreciate your patience in that process. I think the numbers closer to maybe 60, 70
Okay.
of people that have applied.
And do you think 60 that meet the or that, well, we didn't give a residency
I don't believe
requirement,
there was
but
a
we
residency
gave a
requirement.
consideration, I think I would say.
Okay, I
So-
can note that as well. But yeah, they're doing their best.
Okay.
So we're getting them vetted.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I think on that spreadsheet that we talked about, the name, if it's not the city, that'd be good to know. And like you said, we look at this as a regional issue, so that's why we didn't make
Sure.
it like a disqualifier, but it's good to know so that there could be some balance there.
Great.
And then the expertise area. So, great.
Be great.
Anything else, colleagues, for the good of this meeting or any other openings that we maybe didn't discuss further? Okay, can I add one more thing? Sorry. Daniel's like, come on. I did ask the mayor to consider the 3 of us continuing to stay on this appointments committee,
that we
just
can
because
get
I think
the
we've
work
got some
done.
traction. It's not that it would be hard to get people up to speed, but I just think let's continue. Hopefully this could work. And I believe that will be what she does. So she said appreciates all of us working toward just further defining this and making sure that sort of another element of community engagement, we understand what we're asking people to do. So that's it. So we're adjourned at 8:14. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
right. Good morning, everyone. Let's go ahead and call this fiscal committee to order at 8:32. And Commissioner O'Connor isn't here today, so thank you, Mayor Bliss, for sitting in. So the first item that we have on our agenda is a resolution accepting the continuation of a grant award for the Office of Highway Safety Planning, OHSP, in the amount of $38,760. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, who will be coming up to talk about this item? In the absence, is it Ms. Claren?
Yeah, I guess I can pinch hit for this one. It's just, I believe this is a grant we've had. There's no match required, and the purpose of it is reducing fatal and serious injuries and related traffic accidents, so.
All right. Any questions? Sorry.
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carries, thank you. Our next item is a resolution accepting a grant award in the amount of $1,441,455 from the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, also known as EGLE Fuel Transformation Program, and Volkswagen State Mitigation Trust for diesel vehicle replacement.
So moved.
Support?
All right. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners, Mayor. Since this is my first time presenting to you, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Steve Prenz, Acting Director of Fleet Facilities Management. So I'm kind of stepping in since Gary Rimmer retired a few months back, so.
Great, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. This resolution I'm bringing to you today is to accept the grant awarded from the Michigan Department of Environmental Great Lakes, known as EGLE. It's a grant that will reimburse the city approximately 40% of replacing some of our diesel vehicles. Excuse me, a little nervous here. This is part of the fuel transformation program, and it focuses on the replacing of medium and heavy duty diesel vehicles. We've worked with Department of Public Works. We've identified 12 vehicles that meet the criteria and the replacement schedule. Let's see. By removing the vehicles, we're going to be taking approximately 20 vehicles off the road. So,
Well, thank you, and
Yeah.
thanks for presenting. Colleagues, do you have any other questions about this item?
I'm just curious, do we have any sense, and maybe this is a better question for Allison, do we have any sense of, with the removal of the other vehicles and converting to this fuel efficiency, reduction in emissions?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand the question.
So in converting and taking the other vehicles off and moving to this vehicle replacement, are we getting any reduction in fuel emissions? Are we?
Yes, so yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So the reductions we're planning on receiving is about 91 metric tons of greenhouse gases annually. And again, that equates to about 20 passenger vehicles removing from the road, so.
Great.
And then what we're doing is we're replacing the most efficient vehicles we can for light vehicles that can perform the duties. So the diesel vehicles that we're going to be replacing are Tier 4 emission controls, and currently we have Tier 3. And that's a 99% increase in emission efficiencies, so.
Great.
But that's the best that we can do right now with the technologies out there, to do the snow plowing that we're required.
That's exactly what I was wondering.
Okay. yep.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Prenz, and thanks, Mayor. I think from our last meeting, great question, and just another item to bring out about what we're trying to do individually here at the city. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carries, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. The third item is a resolution authorizing a $29,150.49 payment for the 2022 Community Public Water Supply Annual Fee to the state of Michigan. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support?
All right. Come on. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Fiscal Committee. I'm Alex Fleet. I'm the Assistant Water Manager. This is an annual fee that we pay to the state for a public water supply. It is up $600 from last year.
Okay. Colleagues, any questions?
None.
All right, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carries, thank you. Next item is a resolution authorizing a budget substitution of $48,000 for Market Avenue and Wealthy Eastside Trunk Sewer Contract Number 2. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Right. Mr. Bergman, thank you.
All right, good morning, Commissioners and Mayor. So Contract 2 covers the southern portion of the Market Sewer project currently underway, in particularly the area between Williams and our Fleet Building. And that was awarded on June 15th with a authorized not-to-exceed amount of $9,678,000. So we're requesting your approval of this substitution of $48,000 between Capital Improvement Fund accounts, which moves the necessary funding into place for this project.
All right. Any questions? All right, see none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We're going to keep you up here for the next one. Resolution number 5 is a resolution authorizing a budget substitution of $200,000 for Wilson Pump Station and Reservoir improvements. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
All right, so this project was originally awarded back on April 14th of last year, and then in September of this year, Commission approved an increase in scope and also an increase in expenditures, bringing the new not-to-exceed amount to $3,831,700. That was an increase of $200,000. During construction, we had several unforeseen circumstances, but most notably, once we got into the reservoir and opened it up, there were 8 beams that were required to be replaced for the structural integrity. And so there was insufficient funding in the project contingency to address this, and as a result, the $200,000 increase was necessary. So requesting your approval here of the substitution between Water System Fund project accounts to move the necessary funding into place.
Thank you. All right. No question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is an ordinance amending Section 1 of the Budget Ordinance 2021-13 for fiscal year 2022, Amendment Number 5.
So moved.
Support.
Okay. Ms. Claren?
Good morning, Commissioners. We just have 3 items this morning on the budget ordinance. The first one is for the Department of Public Works. We've received more than anticipated gas and weight tax receipts beyond what we budgeted. So we'd like to address some things that were cut out of the adopted budget that now we can do. So first thing being a crack seal machine used in street maintenance, advancing and accelerating the traffic signal modernization efforts, as well as addressing some issues over in stormwater. This would authorize an increase of $540,560 in appropriations to the Major Streets Fund, with a corresponding decrease in fund balance. Number 2, for the Clerk's Department, we have a special election reimbursement from August 2021 with the Grand Rapids Public Schools. This would authorize an increase of $146,871.38 of revenue and appropriations in the general operating fund. Number 3 is the sobriety for the 61st District Court is the Sobriety Court Expansion Program. This is a grant that is from the Office of Highway and Safety Planning. I would authorize the match from the general fund of $39,000 from the general operating fund to the 61st District Court with no effect on fund balance, and will also authorize an increase of $169,000 in revenue and appropriation of the 61st District Court grants fund with no effect on fund balance. Our contingent balance remains unchanged at $1,401,145.
Great, thank you. Any questions, colleagues?
No, I don't have a question, just a comment, and that I'm happy to see the Sobriety Court grant. That's an important program that's been in our community for a long time, and I know many of us were surprised about the recent DART grant. I think sometimes we just assume that there's going to be ongoing funding for some of these important programs at the court, and so I'm glad to see that this is being renewed.
Great, thank you, Mayor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries, thank you. Our next item is a resolution authorizing our bid list for November 16th, 2021. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Okay. And we have moved to, Mayor, I can't remember when we started doing this, but we're not reading out every single item. we had some items where we had like 24 items a couple times. So Cindy was a little talking for a while, but if there's any questions on any of those items on the bid list, Cindy's also always happy to review them. I did have one question, unless either of you have a question. Mine was around the communications upgrade. And I see Ms. Feroli that is here in the audience. And so I just think, given obviously everything that has occurred with COVID, and I was excited to see this because I think more ways that we can have our neighbors or residents or businesses just be aware as different crises or emergencies happen. So I don't know if there's anything additional to add to that. I was just glad to see that item appear, just knowing that continuing ways to connect with individuals. A few years ago, City Hall shut down for the first time, and that was really overwhelming, and just to be able to communicate in better ways. So could you share a couple of pieces about this, Ms. Crowley?
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners and Mayor. So what this is we've had Nixle on board for a couple years now, and the package that we currently have only sends text messages and emails. So doing this upgrade with some CARES Act funding, we're able to increase our capability to where we're able to actually make phone calls, which will help us really achieve an opportunity to communicate to the whole community, especially folks that either don't get text messages or have access to a cell phone or email. And also helps us have a little bit more ability to be more targeted in regards to our messaging when we do have weather warnings or water bulletin notices, things like that we need to get our emergency information out to help them feel successful in taking the right action. So I'm excited about this as well, so that we can, again, be able to communicate more effectively to our community as well, and then also increase opt-in options for our community members.
Thank you. And I think it hits a lot of goals in terms of governmental excellence and equity. So appreciate the additional information. See no other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Thank you. So I think the next one is Mr. Comptroller's report.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good
Oh,
morning,
I'm
Mayor.
sorry, Mr. Comptroller.
Oh, not yet?
The forecasting and the warrant report. So item number 8, your forecasting report for November 16th, 2021. I'm just looking at the city clerk, who's probably asking me to say this correctly for the minutes. So thank you.
Received and filed.
That has been received and filed. The next item is our warrant report for October 27th, 2021 through November 2nd, 2021. Mr. Comptroller.
All right, good morning, everyone.
Thank you.
So for the period referenced there of October 27th through November 2nd, the city released cash payments totaling approximately $2.86 million, which includes approximately $59,000 for income tax warrants and $0 for payroll during that period. In terms of quantity, that equaled 131 income tax refunds being issued and 441 accounts payable checks being issued. And the table on the following page contains the detail of all those payments that exceeded the amount of $20,000.
Any questions for the Comptroller? All right, thank you. Glad to see you back. Our last item on our agenda is the Treasurer's Report for the period of October 26, 2021 through November 1st, 2021. Mr. Treasurer?
Good morning, Commissioners and Mayor. With our report today, this is something that we've been really setting ourselves up for future success. So my work with our investment analyst, Levi Bolt, preparing for when our market was going to start to turn around. So what we're looking here is we're seeing our Fed announcements are that they're going to begin tapering their purchases of various securities. With their ramping that down, that means we should start seeing interest rates go up. So with our Treasury yield curve on the second page, you can see the red line is where the yields are looking at right now as of November 3rd. So you're seeing a pretty dramatic shift out there really between years 1 through 10. Kind of slimlines and tapers off a little bit in out years. But what will happen is as the market begins to normalize, as we start seeing more pressures on the Fed to start raising rates, we should start seeing more or higher rates, hopefully in the longer term also. The whole broad scale should continue to shift up. With what we're looking at, though, we're also seeing that banks are starting to change their CD rates and other rates, money market rates, and projecting out that the Fed is going to raise rates. The debate now is when. So we have, as people are pricing into the market, some say by the end of 2022, I've heard now as early as July and September of 2022. So with the activity that's going on, we're going to see those rates change. What we're also looking at, though, too, is the city has actually positioned itself in really a great position, because we have a lot of maturities that are going to come due in 2022, 2023, and 2024. So that's going to give us that investable cash to then go out and invest at a higher rate and earn a higher yield for the city. I still will say that our portfolio is still very well positioned and still earning 1.23%, even with a considerable amount of cash being held very, very short in money market accounts, because that's all related to our ARPA funds that we have. And once we have decided on how we're going to spend those funds, we can invest that a little bit longer and earn a little bit higher yield. But until we get that plan in place, we don't know how we're going to use it, and we don't want to go invest it too far out before we actually need to use it. So we actually are really in fine position to actually do better than what we were doing in 2008, 2009 with the housing crisis. When that fiscal crisis hit, our rates plummeted and held near 0 to 0.25% for 6 or 7 years. And that's what was happening, is we were hoping that interest rates would rise, but you keep placing your hope out there, but we never expected the market to stay as low as it was for as long as it was. So as we looked to develop our whole portfolio strategy, and not only with Mr. Bolt's help, but with also our investment managers, we've been able to stay above the bottom very, very well. So if we were out there today, we're only earning 0.25%. Well, we're earning 1.23%. So that's real money coming back to the city by investing those funds. So I can't wait to see rates start to rise again and us, placing money out in more meaningful investments. But we have really, really managed through this crisis very well.
Thank you for your report. Colleagues, questions for our city treasurer? All right. We were just together last week, so
Yep.
we had another good report that week. So we have no other business, so we can go ahead and adjourn this fiscal committee at 8:49. Thanks, colleagues and everyone.
Okay.
Oh, that's funny. Good morning, everybody. I think we're all here, so we'll get this meeting started. First, we have a resolution approving a fireworks discharge permit to Image SFX for indoor special effects at the Van Andel Arena in connection with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra concert on December 5, 2021.
So move.
Morning.
Hello.
It's typical TSO, a lot of flames, a lot of special effects, and I or someone from our office will be there as a fire watch for both shows. So if you have any questions, feel free.
Okay. Questions on this? I think that this is maybe the fourth Trans-Siberian Orchestra concert that I've approved this for.
It's a good show.
Yeah. All those in favor say aye. Aye. It carries. Thank you, Ted.
Thank you.
Next is a resolution authorizing assessor to spread nuisance charges for certain outstanding accounts receivables, roll number 8762, totaling $317,802.10.
Support.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I apologize, but we have to re-present this to you. It was originally on the July 13th agenda, and it was approved, but it didn't make it to the night meeting for resolution. So it was inadvertently omitted from the night meetings. So we're just re-presenting it for retroactive approval so that all of the work that the assessor's office has done is still in place. So if you have any questions.
Okay. Questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It carries.
Thank you very much.
And next is a resolution confirming special assessment nuisance roll number 8762.
Support.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I was here last week, you might have remembered, and when we were finalizing it, we found that we didn't have the final authorization to start it. So we're just doing what we did last week to confirm again. And the property owners were noticed, and the assessment roll was open for the inspection. And the City Commission sat to hear all the appeals on September 14th. We had 15 appeals on 7 different properties, and we're asking you to grant one of those appeals. 807 Franklin in the amount of $142.50. And then we would request that you confirm the special assessment roll in the amount of $269,888.47.
Okay.
And authorize the city treasurer to put them on the winter tax statements.
Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Just a quick one, Paula, and not really to do with coming back, but just curious to know, and maybe this is a code compliance question, but just curious to know if we're providing any leniency for the repairs that are needed for those who are on the nuisance roll, as I'm thinking about the city itself and the challenges we're having with getting contractors to do our work. I'm sure that personal, property owners are having some of the same challenges. So I'm just curious to know if we're taking that into account, and if it isn't a question that you can answer, we can certainly follow up with code compliance with that.
I can only answer about the appeals that we reviewed. I can't really answer about the processes that co-compliances go through.
Okay.
But on the appeals that we reviewed, the property owners had many opportunities and many communications with co-compliance before they got to this stage.
Mm-hmm.
So on the one that we are asking you to grant was not through code compliance, but there wasn't sufficient evidence to move forward with it.
Sure. Okay.
So,
thank-
but I would recommend speaking more with code compliance on those issues, because I can't answer that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairperson,
ahead.
I'll follow up with code compliance, but I do recall, and I want to confirm, that initially during the pandemic, we suspended
We did.
enforcement.
Right.
And that led to lower nuisance rolls.
Right.
So there was some time in there, and I don't know the exact period of time, where we actually suspended fining people or code enforcement. So now we're, back in process, and I don't think we're doing any leniency. I think we're back to full operations, but I will check.
Yeah, and I'm just only concerned because contractors are just hard to come by right now because they're so busy. And if we as the city, if we're experiencing that, I wonder, I haven't had any repairs done at my home to know personally, but I suspect that people are experiencing the same challenges with getting a contractor to do some of the work. Thank you for checking.
I will check.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I'll call to the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It carries. Thank you. Next is a resolution approving an application for the transfer of industrial facilities exemption certificate number 2011-577 for Utz Quality Foods LLC at 219 Canton Street Southwest.
I'll move it.
All right.
Good morning.
This is Mr. Gracia.
Yes, good morning, Commissioner. So this is just approving the transfer of that industrial facility exemption certificate. Recall that the Utz Quality Foods and has purchased the real estate and equipment at this location at 219 Canton. Again, this is not, this is currently set to expire December 30th, 2023. It does not extend any of that. We did have this public hearing last week, and there were no comments, and so staff recommends approval of this resolution.
Okay. Any other further questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It carries. Next is a resolution accepting 2 quitclaim deeds for parks purposes, each for nominal consideration of $1, and authorizing expenditures in the amount not to exceed $40,000.
I'll move it.
All right, good morning, Commissioners. So you heard a preview of this during your workshop last week of this item, which involves a significant amount of work that staff has done with the Drain Commissioner to reach agreement on how to transfer some key properties back to the city from the Drain Commissioner. This will add over 11 acres to be used for parks and recreation purposes. The two locations are 1516 South Division and the adjacent parcel to the east, which is the basin right on Division near Cottage Grove. And then there are 9 properties along Carrier Creek, which is east of College and a little bit south of Leonard. Our conversations with the Drain Commissioner have focused on dual complementary purposes for these properties, so still allowing for stormwater management to occur, but then also utilizing the space to restore habitat with green infrastructure and access to space for additional recreation, likely passive type recreation purposes. The Drain Commissioner is willing to convey these properties for nominal consideration of $1 for each location, but we're still working to finalize the actual costs associated with closing, and so we've placed a not to exceed amount of $40,000 to be authorized via this resolution to cover those associated costs. So the resolution provides for acceptance of the quitclaim deeds from the 2 drainage districts and provides for execution of all the necessary documents associated with this. The respective drainage districts will retain easements over the property for existing and future stormwater facilities. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and Mr. Marquardt's here and available to answer any parks-related questions as well.
All right, questions? So this is the kind of thing that requires a lot of work to get to this point. I know that, so thank you for that. And it's exciting to be able to add 11 acres to our park system. Go ahead.
If I could just add, I want to thank, the staff who's present here today, Chris Barfus, who doesn't always get a lot of recognition, but ought to, did really great work to help get this done. Need to thank the Drain Commissioner for being willing to do this and for his partnership in this operation. Tim, I don't know who else, David, of course, all help make this happen. And the mayor was in a meeting early in the summer that was helpful as well. So everybody pitched in and got this done, and it's a great partnership, and it's a really good way to reuse these properties.
Yes.
So appreciate your consideration of this and your support.
Yeah, when we did our South Division bus ride along for the TOD study, we stopped right in front of that south field, and it is kind of this. Yep. Everybody can look at this beautiful green space and not enjoy it. So hopefully these arrangements will allow for it still to serve its purpose for stormwater, but will be able to be accessible, like you said, for light use, passive use for recreation. That's great. All those in favor say aye. Aye. It carries. And last is a resolution accepting a sidewalk and utility easement at 2102 Michigan Street Northeast for a nominal consideration of $1.
Move it.
All right, so this property is located at the southeast corner of Michigan and Lakeside Drive. And when a new home was constructed and a permit was pulled, they were required to install sidewalk along Lakeside. Due to the presence of an existing drainage ditch along that street frontage, they had to shift a small portion onto private property, about a 16-foot by 6-foot area. So this resolution accepts the easement covering that portion of sidewalk.
Seems straightforward. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It carries. That's it. Thanks, everybody.
All right, good morning, everyone. Hi, Commissioner. Hey, how are you? Okay, we're gonna get started. Hopefully this will be quick because we have one action item and then I need to call for executive session. So we do have 2 executive sessions today for performance reviews. Those will take place downstairs in room 601. So one will occur right after we are done here at COW, and then the other one, let me check, will be at 1:30. And then we have public safety today at 3 o'clock. So with that, we'll call this meeting to order, and we'll start with the first one. This is a resolution scheduling a public hearing on the future status of 7 existing social districts as required by the designating resolutions for those social districts. Can I get a motion?
I'll move it.
Support.
All right, moved and
Mayor?
supported. Mr. Canfield?
Mayor, I just want to point out, we are here today just for Mr. Canfield. It is the Mr. Canfield show, all for
Better
you,
make it
sir.
good.
Very generous of you to
All
have
eyes
me
on
here
you.
today. Well, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I think this is relatively straightforward. So over the last 16 months, you have designated 7 social districts. They are listed in the cover memo to the proposed resolution. And in the resolutions that designated each of those, thinking that it would be helpful to have a checkpoint for a very new concept and program, you affirmed that you would consider a resolution on whether to continue, modify, or discontinue these social districts before the end of this year. And in preparation for that decision, you would hold a public hearing. And as we are approaching the end of this year, December 7th would be the appropriate time to hold that public hearing. And so that is what this resolution would accomplish. And I know you're well aware, but some watching may not be aware. Social districts are the areas where individuals can purchase to-go alcoholic beverages from those businesses that are properly permitted, carry those into the district and consume them there, and then dispose of their to-go cup. So if you have any questions about the proposed resolution or anything else related to social districts, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, any questions? All right, so we'll have this before us next month. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. All right, Commissioners, and now can I get a motion to go into to have 2 executive sessions today?
So moved.
All right, moved and supported. This is a voice vote, so I'll start down here. Commissioner Moody?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
My answer is yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lanier? Aye. Commissioner Repart? Yes. Commissioner Isasi?
Yes.
And I am a yes. All right, with that will end this meeting. And Commissioners, why don't we take a 5-minute break and head down to 601 at 10:10? Thank you. All right, thank you.